emergency proclamation goes away, the guidance should be that anyone indoors who's unvaccinated wears a mask. People are going to have to be responsible for their own health. They will not be in the dark about the best practices. So just follow the CDC guidance, which is that, and you're going to be okay.
That was Lieutenant Governor Josh Green in an interview with reporter Mahealani Richardson just moments ago. He says he is now pushing the state to drop those indoor mask requirements. We're going to follow that story all afternoon long. Mahea is writing it up right now. We're going to have it for you on later editions of HNN. Meanwhile, we just got in breaking news, new numbers being reported from the State Department of Health.
The state is reporting 69 new cases today and no new fatalities. The breakdown by island shows 9 cases on the Big Island, 7 on Kauai, 4 on Maui, 37 on Oahu, and 12 people diagnosed out of state. Meanwhile, the CDC says in-person school should be a priority this fall. Here is Jen Psaki. She's the White House press secretary. Here's what she had to say about this recommendation a short time ago.
The guidelines that they provided, the guidance, is in line with their public health guidance that they have provided broadly. So if somebody is vaccinated, they are safe. If they are not vaccinated, which obviously applies to children who are under a certain age who are not yet eligible, then there are guidelines that remain in place.
U.S. health officials now say vaccinated teachers and students don't need to wear masks inside school buildings. The CDC announced the new guidelines today. The changes come after a growing national vaccination campaign in which children as young as 12 are eligible to get shots, as well as a general decline in recent months of COVID hospitalizations and deaths. The new guidance pretty much leaves it up to local officials to figure out how to ensure unvaccinated are using precautions while letting those who are fully protected go mask-free. The biggest question will be at middle schools, where some students are eligible for the shots and others aren't.
How these guidelines will be implemented has always been the purview of local school districts. That has always been the case with vaccines in general, even prior to the coronavirus. So this is public health guidelines that they are providing. It is up to the school districts to apply and implement.
We have an update now from Kauai Mayor Derek Kawakami on how the county is recovering during the pandemic. Here's Steve Uehara with that interview.
Mayor, if the hesitation continues, if cases keep increasing or stay at an elevated level, would you consider another round of restrictions despite our low hospitalization rate?
I wouldn't want to, Steve. You know, of course, we take our guidance when it comes to the health side of this operation from the Department of Health. And of course, I'm lucky to have a great district health officer in Dr. Janet Behrman and her counterpart, Lauren Guest, and their team. But I will tell you this personally, I would not want to see us go back into more restrictions. We're looking at hospitalization rates. We've seen that vaccinations have been extremely effective against even the Delta variant. And, you know, for the most part, that's really where we've transitioned off to. The people that are getting sick have not been vaccinated. Unfortunately, some of them are young children. But for most adults, it's a choice they have made. They're recovering quite well. Our hospitals have some treatment. But of course, you know, we'll keep an eye on things. But personally, I think the path forward is to continue to move forward as long as we can balance health and safety.
Mayor, at what point do we get back to normal? Do you think a 70% vaccination statewide rate is realistic?
I do. I'm very optimistic, and that's just the type of person that I am. I will tell you, however, that we did see the governor transition and make some forecasts and set a date where we'll be going into Tier 5. And you were already having discussions as to if we get to a level where we plateau and the general safety of our constituents and our people in Hawaii is pretty even keeled, I'm assuming that we will take a look at when we drop all of the tiers, because the fact of the matter is we cannot continue to live under Tier 5. The basic operation and goal from day one was to coexist with COVID-19, much like we coexist with other viruses. And so at some point in time in the near future, we're going to have to move forward and get back to normal.
The state, and that includes Kauai, of course, is seeing a spike in visitors as of late. Is this sustainable, Mayor? How does Kauai find a balance of its number one economic driver and then running the risk of over-tourism?
Kauai has really done a fabulous job by taking a look at different transportation systems, taking a look at even at our parks and our campgrounds and making adjustments there. We're taking a look and studying a feasibility study to have visitors start to pay for some of our public parking and letting residents have at least some good quality of life, because the fact is we do depend on tourism, but it shouldn't erode at our quality of life where people start to get frustrated. We also have to start educating our visitors just about our culture. You know, we're a culture that really honors humility and being humble. We take our slippers off when we go into somebody's home. And when we travel, I know for a fact that as our family does, we just try to fit in to wherever we're going. We watch what the locals do. We follow their lead. And, you know, I think visitors, for the most part, are respectful. But for a few of them that may not be behaving as well, you know, they're ruining it for everybody. So I think we got to do a better job educating our visitors.
There's a new option for Oahu bars and restaurants to return to full capacity with no social distancing. That's if they only allow customers with a vaccine card or a negative COVID test. Here's Ben Gutierrez with much more on that.
Honolulu's move into Tier 5 is a big deal for businesses like karaoke bars, who can now fit more patrons to sing in private rooms like this one. After coming close to shutting down for good during the pandemic lockdown, Air Park Karaoke owner Kylie Lynn is excited to be able to have more people coming in. She's going under the city's Tier 5 rules that allow groups of up to 25 people indoors.
It was like a tremendous exciting news for us, especially because we have private rooms that can hold up to that many.
Under the rules, employees still have to wear face coverings, and masks are still required for guests indoors unless they are eating or drinking. Tier 5 also allows restaurants to operate without the 6-foot distance requirement if their patrons show proof that they've been fully vaccinated or have a negative test in the last 48 hours.
If a restaurant wants to check for vaccination records and have a vaccinated only clientele in there so they can operate at full capacity, the state has agreed to that.
Oahu's 4 Ruby Tuesday restaurants, which have social distancing rules in effect, are considering that.
What our plan is to make sure we have everybody come through and maybe check off if they've been vaccinated or if they've gotten their test recently. And from there, we it is the honor system.
Even if it is the honor system, there is a question about who would enforce it. And some worry about potential confrontations.
They're going to say, oh, well, have you been vaccinated? Or have you had a test? Do you have a negative test? Do you have the results? Or do you have a passport? Do you have a card? This pits one person against the other. This is not a law. This is not the way we should do business in Honolulu.
It's always a problem with very few people, and luckily it's very few.
Some are hoping this will incentivize even more people into getting inoculated.
We're thinking that this is going to be one step closer to the 100% reopening, and we welcome it.
Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
Funding for the new Chinatown police patrols will come from CARES Act money. Honolulu's mayor says $2 million of the federal funds will be used to pay overtime for HPD officers doing foot patrols in the area of Chinatown starting later this month and running to the end of the year.
I think it would help keep the crime down. You know, maybe they would go someplace else or, patrol. A lot of foot patrol would be good.
That wouldn't be a good investment. They should invest in, getting the homeless somewhere to be, the mentally disturbed, somewhere to, be placed in psychiatric supervision.
24 officers and 4 supervisors every day will be used to help curb crime.
In fact, laws are broken, there'll be arrests made, and we're already working right now to make sure these people don't show back up in the streets the next day.
This approach doesn't work. The number of people who are unsheltered went up as a result of this exact approach to dealing with this.
HPD's spending of CARES Act money last year triggered federal and city audits. The department says they have safeguards in place this time to prevent overtime abuse.
The fate of the Haiku Stairs along the high ridges of the Ko'olaus remain up in the air as both sides of the debate are lobbying hard to either save or destroy them. Today, we take a deeper look at the conflict and the fascinating history of the unique attraction. The famed Stairway to Heaven continues to be heaven to some and hell to others. Honolulu police say in the second half of June alone, they issued over 70 citations and made 5 arrests. Over the years, trespassers have ignored potential $1,000 fines, and one even suffered severe cuts to his neck from an alleged booby trap. But thrill seekers keep climbing, with some tour guides charging up to $450 a person for the illegal experience. Haiku resident Richard Barboza describes what the crowds looked like before the pandemic.
A little mini stakeout on our property, and we started at 10 p.m. at night, and between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., there were 91 trespassers. And then from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., there were over 100.
To address the problem, the Honolulu City Council included $1 million in this year's budget to remove the stairs for good, and the council's vice chair introduced a resolution urging the Blangiardi administration to take action.
It's not just the disrespect of the rule of law and disrespect for communities that's being demonstrated, but you have to take seriously the threat to public safety and the liability concerns of the city. So I just don't know cumulatively, once you explore all of those challenges, how you can come to the conclusion that you think managed access will be successful.
But some believe dismantling the historic stairway would be a big mistake.
I had to go to the Navy archives to get that. It cost me $360 to have them look it up and copy it. But it was worth it.
John Flanagan is an original member of the nonprofit, the Friends of the Haiku Stairs. At 88 years old, he calls the stairway his baby. Ever since its closure, he's collected every article, sketch, and government document he could get his hands on to preserve the stairs' history.
There are very few people around now that remember the Second World War. And if we're interested in the history and Hawaii's part in it, that's one of the very few things left that can show and tell the story of what happened here.
The stairs were built in 1942 during World War II for U.S. Navy radio communications. After the war, the U.S. Air Force used the Communication Controlling Center for about a decade, and by the 70s, the Omega Station was in the hands of the Coast Guard. During that time, civilians were allowed to sign a waiver and climb the stairs for recreation. And some would like to revive a similar system. Harvey Nakamoto, founder of an adventure tour company, was one of 13 organizations that applied to manage the stairs for the city.
For about the last 3 years, I've been attending Kaneohe neighborhood board meetings and trying to figure out the neighborhood's primary concerns with the Haiku Stairs. I identified 13 major nuisance, vandalism, or theft issues. And through that identification process and speaking with neighborhood members, we came up with solutions for all of them.
Nakamoto's plan includes fronting the money to fix and manage the stairs, having 24-hour security, transporting hikers from an off-site location, requiring certified guides on every hike, and capping the number of daily hikers. Some environmentalists also believe that preserving and managing the attraction in a responsible and ethical way will help protect native plants.
My stance right now is managed access, because my whole concern is removing those invasives along the stairway corridor, especially at the summit of the ko'olaus. Now, the summit of the ko'olaus, which has been always a pristine native habitat, is in jeopardy of becoming overrun by invasive species, specifically within the Haiku Valley.
There's a lot of people have talked about managed access, and it's easier said than done.
Now, Vice Chair Kia Aina said ultimately the decision to release the funds to tear down the stairs is in the hands of the mayor. Laura Thielen, Blangiardi's Parks Director, has not made a decision yet, saying she believes there are solutions to maintain the stairway for recreational use while reducing the impact on the surrounding community.
And that special report was put together by our intern, Lauren, our very first This Is Now intern, Lauren, and sadly, her last day was yesterday. So she did great work for us. Thanks so much, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, let's take you outside now. Here is Aloha Tower looking out Beyond to the reef runway, there's been that South Shore swell that's been sticking around for a while. Let's see if it's going to linger through the weekend. Here is Billy V, who's in for Guy Hoggy.
Thank you very much. Billy V sitting in for Guy Hoggy, who is on assignment today. Here's what your Aloha Friday looks like. First of all, surf is 3 to 5 feet over on the south-facing shore. Now, we're going to get a little bit of energy coming up tomorrow, maybe part of Sunday, but the next significant swell is going to be 1 week. It's going to be next weekend. 2 to 4 feet on the east-facing shore. Let's take a look at what's happening with the rain and wind trends. First of all, we'll put this in motion. We've got some light winds happening, and then we don't really pick up winds until Sunday. That's when we get the regular trade winds back. And then as we get into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they get really gusty and stay with us throughout the week. So we'll get some trade showers, some enhanced showers as well as we move through the broadcast week. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 7-day forecast for you. And we've got, of course, 5 to 15 mile per hour winds. That's today. They'll stick with us tomorrow. But once we get into Sunday, once again, those trade winds will pick up, and look at this. They'll even get gustier, 15 to 25 miles per hour. So not only will the trade winds come back, but the trade wind showers to keep everything cooler, less humidity. Enjoy the weekend, though. It's going to be great for you. As always, get the latest on air, online, on your mobile device, and at hawaiinewsnow.com.
We're counting down to a giant leap forward in the billionaire space race. Richard Branson is scheduled to take flight on Sunday. Mark Strassman is standing by with much more details on this.
Astronaut 001, Richard Branson. I'll be evaluating the customer spaceflight experience.
Give Sir Richard Branson this much. The swashbuckling billionaire has a knack for making his dreams seem like ours. In this case, space. He believes it's for everyone.
Do you like the term space tourism?
Yeah, space tourism works.
On Sunday morning, Branson will become the space tourist. Since 2004, his company Virgin Galactic has persevered through test flights and setbacks, like an accident in 2014 that killed a test pilot.
Space definitely is hard. We've had our tears, we've had our joys, but I tell you what, the joys have been fantastic.
Branson's space voyaging will begin on a runway, this runway, at Spaceport America in New Mexico, a 12,000-foot straightaway for Virgin Galactic's mothership. VMS Eve is a plane, a twin fuselage aircraft with 2 pilots. In the middle, it carries the space plane, VSS Unity.
3, 2, 1, release, release, release.
At about 45,000 feet, Eve will release Unity.
Fire, fire.
The spaceship will shoot straight up more than 50 miles, where space begins.
Spaceship Unity, welcome to space. We've got massive windows all the way around. They'll be able to unbuckle, they'll be able to float around, and they will have become an astronaut.
Branson and 3 other passengers, all employees, should experience a few minutes of weightlessness. Then Unity's 2 pilots will glide everyone back to Earth.
We really are going to be a hub for space tourism for suborbital flight.
Scott McLaughlin oversees Spaceport America.
I mean, nerves are a part of it, right? Nerves are a part of it. Yeah. And anybody who says otherwise is yeah. This is going to space.
Yeah. Virgin Galactic moved its operations here in 2019. The nearest city is named Truth or Consequences. I asked McLaughlin for a little of both about the risks involved.
That's the key factor, right? It has to be safe. This is the moment of truth both for Virgin Galactic and for this facility.
I think so. I think it'd be hard to argue that it's not.
Branson's rival as a space baron? Jeff Bezos. He'll launch in his Blue Origin spaceship on July 20th. Branson will beat Bezos into space by 9 days.
Do you see Blue Origin as a competitor?
Yes, we may be competing, but we're not really competing for passengers because there'll be plenty of people who want to be astronauts who'll sign up to both of us.
Virgin Galactic has a waiting list of 600 people eager to become astronauts. They've paid up to $250,000 apiece for their chance to fly, and if Sunday's flight goes well, those regular flights could start sometime next year. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Thank you, Mark. I cannot wait for this.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Very cool, and I love those visuals. So if you're going to want to see all this action, you're going to have to get up early here in Hawaii. It's 3 a.m. launch time, 9 a.m. Eastern. So I'll be watching. Yep, I'm going to try to.
Hopefully all goes well.
Yep. Let's talk about theme parks and Disney World and Disneyland, because they're planning to bring something back super cool. Halloween-themed events this year. Woohoo! Disney World suspended them last year, and Disneyland was closed entirely because of the pandemic. Events at the Florida park will include trick-or-treating and themed parades. Visitors to California can expect holiday-themed character sightings and special effect shows. After-hour Halloween events require a separate ticket for purchase. What'd you find, Ash?
So let's take you to China. Giant pandas are no longer endangered. Chinese officials say decades of work to save the species has paid off, driving up their population in the wild up to 1,800. So the giant pandas will be reclassified as vulnerable. The nation has spent almost half a century working to boost the population of its most famous native animal, including sprawling panda reserves across several mountain ranges, packed with their main food source, bamboo. Experts say other rare and endangered species like Siberian tigers and Asian elephants are also rebounding.
Can you ever get enough cute panda video?
No,
really?
look at that guy.
Really? It's really one of my favorite
Living
animals.
the life there.
Yep.
And a 14-year-old from Louisiana made history today, or yesterday, when she became the first Black American to win the Scripps National Spelling Bee. In front of an audience that included First Lady Jill Biden, Zyla Avantgarde, super cool name, spelled the word Maria. It's a type of tree. And the teen also holds the Guinness World Record for most basketball bounce juggles in a minute. So she's a very talented
That's a crazy
teen.
record to hold.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What do you think, John? How do you spell Maria?
Oh, don't even go there with me.
Language of origin, it's formed in Latin from a Swedish name. And again, it's a
Latin.
tree.
Oh, I'm really not going to try. I'm a terrible, terrible speller, I must admit.
Murraya.
Impressive. Very good.
Yes.
Let's move to the Olympics before you embarrass me anymore.
So the U.S. swim team has been training on Oahu for the past 2 weeks, and yesterday's practice at Punahou was open to the public. The team has been training at Punahou, Iolani, and UH. The Tokyo Games are close to fans, so this was a rare chance for Hawaii fans to see some of the world's fastest swimmers in person. Now, the team leaves for Japan on Monday, where they'll have one more training camp before going for the gold.
And don't forget, we are your Olympic station right here, KHNL. We have so many things in the work coming up. We're going to be doing a show called Olympic Zone. Ashley and Mark and I are going to be doing some Olympic shortcasts, is what we're calling them right now, which will come to you on your digital platform. So really excited about it. We have a team working behind the scenes. Also wanted to show you this. Check out what was happening on the Kauai this morning. That is the U.S. Olympic rowing team working out right there. We got sent this little clip of video just a couple of hours ago.
They are moving.
Yeah, I thought it was the speed of the video, but I think they're really going that quickly. That's amazing. Again, KHNL, your Olympic station, starting just a couple weeks away from now. Okay, another sad departure to tell you about. Jin Wong.
Oh,
We're
Jen
gonna miss you
Wong.
so much. She was just getting stacked with Lay this morning because that's how much we all love her so much. She is our first at 4 producer alongside Ashley. They even took home an Emmy in just a short time they've been around. We're going to truly miss you, Jin Wong.
Yeah, we're so sad to see her go, but we're so excited for her next chapter. And she's going to do great no matter where she is. So her next place of work is very lucky, I will say that.
I agree. You guys know what else we're lucky about? It's the weekend!
Yay!
Well, almost for most of you. Just hours away. Really, just hours away. We'll be back here on Monday. Can't wait to see you. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Aloha.